All right, as we continue on then, we're going to go into part 3. This is what we'll get done, or at least probably most of it today. Hopefully all of it, but we'll see. It's longer. So it says we're going to add a view template. We're going to use a layout for common site elements. We're going to update the style sheet, use a model to pass information to our view, and we're going to add links between the pages. All right. First of all, this particular section talks about views, and you know what views are. Views are typically the HTML files that are going to be returned from the controller, all right? And you may or may not know what a view model is. And this is the article that they talk about in here, so if you're interested in seeing this, if you're not, fine, but if you are, there's the URL for it, and it's called Use View Models to Manage Data and Organize Code in ASP.NET MVC Applications. All right, so let's take it from here. What is an ASP.NET MVC view model? View models allow you to shape multiple entities from one or more data models or sources into a single object. You can look at it in a way that it's sort of like sharing, for lack of better words. All right, it says the below image shows you an example, and you have to click on the image there. I thought it came up, maybe it doesn't. There it is. Oops, that page can't be found. That's a big help. But, as I mentioned to you before, so far we've been just working with strings. We did work with one int, but everything we've done has been all funneled through the controller. We haven't cared right now about a view. We haven't cared right now about a model. All right, we'll get more into models in part 4 tomorrow when we go into the models and data access. That's when we'll add the database. The good news is when we add the database, there's hundreds of records, and the real good news is you don't have to type in anything. I'll give you the file, and you'll just have, and I'll show you how to add it in. All right. So it says so far we've just been returning strings from controller actions. That's a nice way to get used to how controllers work, but it's not real life. It's not the way that they're actually used. It says we are going to want a better way to generate HTML back to browsers visiting our site. One where we use template files to more easily customize the HTML content back, and that's exactly what views do. Now, I have given you this example before, not talking about model view controller, but if you remember a long time ago when we talked about databases, and we talked about views, and I said a view is a saved query, and I gave you an example, and I said the view, when I walk into a bank, the view that the personal banker has is going to be different than the view a bank teller has. All right, which should make sense to you because a personal banker can see things that a bank teller can't see. Well, in much the same way, if I go out to this record site and I want to buy whatever, I want to buy a pop album, I should be shown different things than Ethan is shown if he goes out there and wants to buy a reggae album. You know what I'm saying? We should have different views. We're seeing the same type of information, but we're seeing different information. And that's what they're talking about in there. All right? So it says, to use a view template, we're going to change our home controller. And again, we're doing this nice and slow because you've done a lot of this stuff, but it's more or less been me walking you through it. And maybe we should have done this one first. I don't know. All right? But it says we'll change our home controller's index method so that it returns an action result and have it return a view. So in other words, when you look on the screen here, that's what it looked like to begin with. We're going to change it back to the way it looked to begin with. All right? So we're going to go into our home controller file and in the index file. So you want to find your home controller.cs file, and in this index right here, and am I still running? No, it's not. I'm just going to paste that in. All right. I should mention, if you'd all just stop for a second, I'll give you time. Look up on the screen here. Did you notice that when it committed, It actually gave me a number. See that? All right. And you may or may not know it too. It says, notice my branch. It says I'm at the master, so I haven't forked. In other words, I haven't created a path down my way. All right. And what you'll see too, if I go to actions right here, if you look on the screen, if I go to actions and I go to view history, this won't make that much sense now, but it'll make more sense after we commit our next time. Because now if we wanted to, we can revert back to anything that's in here. This is why you're going to want to put in good comments. So if you want to revert to an earlier version of a file, you'll know what version to revert to. All right? All right, I don't need that right now, so I'm going to go back to this. All right. Now, that's all fine and dandy, because what we did there was we changed. So we said instead of returning a string, we want it to return a view. Okay? There's sort of a problem with that. And that is, we don't have a view. Okay? Now, you may or may not have realized this, but in the past, when we did not start with an empty project, when we just chose MVC project and MVC, it built for us the home controller. It built for us the home view. It did all that stuff for us. But since we're starting from a blank slate, so to speak, all right, we're doing it ourselves. The easiest way to do this, if you all look up on the screen here, take your mouse and right mouse click on the word view. And if it comes up and it's got add view here as one of your options, that's what you want to choose. Now it knows to associate that view with this controller. Does that make sense? That's what this is more than anything else when you start looking at it. The whole model view control, it's just a mapping mechanism more than anything else. You know, go here to get this. Go over to here to get this. When you go here, you got to pass this. When you go here, you don't have to pass anything. If you go here, you can either put index and not put it, or not put in index, etc. So I'm going to choose add view. The view name is fine. All right. Index. Now, we're not going to do this, but if you look here, if I click the down arrow, later we may look at this stuff. Because if we wanted to be able to create some stuff, we choose that, delete, details, etc. You've seen these already. All right. We have used them. By default, you get the empty one, which is, I think, at least what we want. So empty without model. All right. And we should not have to fill out anything else on here. This says to give us a layout page. All right. And this says to create it as a partial view. I'm not even going to get into partial views. What's a partial view? It literally is not a true view. It's something that can be used with other partial views to create a view. And I don't want to get into that. All right. So I'm just going to click add. And you might have to go back to your Solution Explorer to actually see this, because I'm still in Team Explorer over here. But when it comes back, all right, now when I look under Views and I look under Home, I've got index.cshtml. So it did two things for me, whether you realize it or not. There was no home folder there before. So it created the home folder, and it put the index.cshtml file in there for me. If that folder had already been created, let's say that I just created it myself, that would be okay. All right. So what that dialog did, all right, was it allows us, as it says right there, it allows us to go in and generate view template files. All right. Now, again, the name and the folder location is important because of what I talked about before, the ASP.NET MVC naming conventions. So when we want to bring this up, now you don't have to do this, but if you just, all you just stop for a second and just look on the screen here. All right, I'm going to change this. So I'm just going to say, all right, you don't have to do that, but I'm just showing you this. I'm going to do a save all. I'm going to do a build solution. When it comes back, I'm going to run this. Remember, I'm in the home, right? Right now, that's where I put this stuff. So look what comes up. All right. Does that make sense? Okay. And it's not, is it that big a thing? Well, yeah, in a way it is, because what's different is now, rather than having our controller just return a string, our controller is calling the index method, the index.cshtml, that view. All right. That's what's important about this. All right. Since we put it in like this, all right, by default, it's returning the home index file, and it's the view, and that's what we'd want it to return. All right. So on yours, I'm going to stop it, and I can go back and change it back. It's no big thing. The only change that I made was what comes up in this right here. By default, it's just got the word index. I put something in there so it would really stand out. All right. All right. So what's in here? Well, we've talked about, let's get this, I'm going to put this back to index again so it looks like yours. That's what yours looks like, correct? Okay. So here's the first thing. And you can go and do all sorts of reading rather about this. But you may or may not get this. I get it, but I don't get it, if that makes any sense. The view bag, it's literally called that for a reason. It's like you've got this bag, and you can put anything in the world you want in it, and it can be any kind of data. And you can do anything you want to do with it. So it's a bag where you can put stuff that you can potentially view at a later time. So if I wanted to, I could add in here view.name equal and put my name in there. View.age. I could put all that stuff in there. I wouldn't be using it, so there's not a reason to do it. But there are reasons. This title right here that says index, all right, I'm going to just change this. You don't have to change yours, all right? But I'm going to literally change mine. So I'm going to have it say music store index, like that. Again, you don't have to do that. But I'm going to save. I'm going to go back and rebuild it. And I'm going to run this again. And I'm not trying to waste your time. There's actually a reason for showing this to you. It's going to come back and just say index here again like it did, or like yours would if you ran yours. Because I got rid of the H2 tag. I got rid of my name there. But that's what I wanted to show you. See up on the tab on the top? All right. Because what we're doing is we're equating the view bag title with what we want to show at the top of the screen. All right. And again, is that big a thing? No, but I'm just, since we're going over stuff, it sort of makes sense to talk about it. All right. I'll go back and just change it back so ours are all the same again. All right. So you understand at least everything that's in there. All right. Now, you also know, or hopefully you know, that this is a CSHTML file, meaning C# hypertext markup language. And if I told you there's 3 lines in here that are C#, you should know what they are. Why? What are the 3 lines? What line numbers? What?
2, 3, 4.
Yep. Why? Because they have razor syntax. Because they start with this. Anything that you have in there that starts with that is the C# that you've embedded inside of your HTML. All right? Okay. They want us to change this. I don't know why, but they do. And they want this to say, this is the home page. All right. And then you're supposed to Again, save all, build solution, and then run it. And after you run it, everybody should see that when you run it, it should say this is the home page. This is going to go back to saying index on it because I changed it back on our tab up here to what it said to begin with. All right, this is the home page. All right. Now, most websites, would everybody agree with this? In an ideal world, most websites should share things. In other words, I might have a header that has a logo, a brand name in it, etc., and I might want that on the top of each page. On the bottom of each page, I might want a footer that maybe has a sitemap, or maybe has the time, or whatever. All right, but in an ideal world, most websites have content that's going to be shared between many pages. All right, why, who cares? Well, I want to show you right now why you should care. So I'm going to go back into here. I'm going to close that, and I want to bring up this file. That's the layout, if you didn't see me bring it up. That is the underscore layout.cshtml file, which is under your shared folder. All right. This is automatically created for you inside of the shared folder. All right, so you can see where it is right here. All right. When you double click on it and you bring it up, this is the stuff that's in here. We have looked at some of this, but some of this that's in here we have not talked about. All right, such as, well, you should really know. Am I right in assuming? I'm asking you this. Does everybody know what all that stuff is doing? Now, please look up on the screen here. Notice where it says title. All right, that's that same view bag that we're grabbing. All right. We're actually using that on every page. So if I'm on the home page, it should say home-myasp.net. If I'm on a store page, it should say store-myasp.net application type of thing. All right. Well, if you look in here, we do have, this is good. All right. It did provide for us. So this says we should have a content folder. And that content folder should have in it some Bootstrap stuff and our site stuff. That's good. Even in an empty application like that, it made that stuff for us. All right. All right. Again, is that important? Well, that says that if there's any Bootstrap built in here, it's already going to be responsive. That's good. I didn't take off on your homeworks if yours weren't responsive, because some of you use Bootstrap classes. But when I went and, your heading might have been nice and responsive, but when I went down to your body, it wasn't responsive at all. All right, that's not the way it was supposed to be. All right. Now, the key things that are in here are this. This is, again, pure Razor syntax. And again, may or may not make any sense, so let's break it down and look at it. Now, I do have notes in the book. This isn't explained, so I'm explaining it to you my own way, which may or may not be very good, but that's what we're going to use anyway. This is an action link, which means it's going to be a hyperlink. All right? What this says is when you click that hyperlink, what I want you to do is I want you to go to the index method. All right? And that index method is the index method for the home controller. All right, there always is a rhyme and reason to the way they've got this stuff set up. All right, there is no area. I was going to show you areas, but that's the other one. That what an area is, just so you see this, I'll get rid of it right away. You don't have to do this. If I right mouse click here and choose add, you do not have to do this, and I choose area, that builds in here a little MVC project within my MVC project. So if I was going to create my own admin area, And it was going to be really, not like they do in here, which is real simplistic, but I could do it with an area. All right? All right. But it's telling me I don't have an area. And class equal navbar brand, well, you know that's at the top. You know what a navbar brand is. All right? But what's the most important line in here is this little line right there. That line that says render body. All right? Now, I want to read what they tell you on the handout here. It's a paragraph, and I'll put it up on the screen too so you can see it. Right there. It says the content from our individual views will be displayed by the @renderBody command. Well, you know that since it's got parens after it, it's a method. All right? And it says, and any common content that we want to appear, we put outside of that, can be added to that markup. So, in other words, the stuff that's in this file is designed to appear on every page of the site. All right? It says we'll want our MVC music store to have a common header. All right, so we'll have to add that directly to the render body statement. All right, so what is that? Well, that's literally is going to be everything that's there. All right? So I'm going to grab that, copy it to the clipboard, go back into where we just were, and right after our body, all right, so right there, I think they said put it right, double check. Right after our body tag. In fact, I think we can put it right up above the render body. All right, I'm just going to paste that in. So what's new is what's right here. All right. So right up above where you've got the div, it's got the render body underneath it, right? So it's between a couple divs. So right at the end of that div and before that div, put in the stuff that's here. Make sure you put it in the right place, though. Don't put it below the render body. Make sure it's above the render body.
Would we change the application name to?
Here, you mean?
No,
Up above?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to change that. Just for now, just leave it the way it is. I think that is what appears in your brand.
That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, you could put MVC Music Store if you want there. You know, whatever you want. It's not that big a thing. Now, after we get done with this, right here, in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to have to pause the video because I forgot there were 2 files I had to send to you that I didn't send. Unless you want to type some CSS in, and unless you want to go out and make your own graphic. You probably don't want to do that. So I'm going to just send them to you in a couple minutes. All right? But I'll leave this up there for a second. Ethan just asked the question, if you look up on the screen here, if we go up further, you don't have to call that application name. So if we want, we can call this MVC Music Store. You don't have to do that, but it would probably make a little more sense to do that. All right. But as you'd probably guess, we're going to be making more changes to this as we go on. Again, that was everything in the blue there. All right, I'm taking for granted everybody has that. So I'm going to save. I'm going to build my solution. Once this comes up, I'm going to run it again. You don't have to. It doesn't matter. I just want to take a look and admire my handiwork, so to speak. So there's the links to home and store. There's the this is the home page, and there's what we just added. All right. If you changed yours, you're heading up here. Yours still says application name if you didn't change it, and if you did, that's what it looks like. All right. Now, the next thing that we're supposed to do is we're supposed to update the style sheet. Well, I forgot to send you that. So I'm going to have to send you something, but let's try to make this work as seamless as possible. Okay? So the way we're going to do it is like this. First thing I want you to do is I want you to right mouse, go over to your content folder. If your content folder is closed, open it. Right mouse click on the file that's called site.css. I don't want to remove anything. So let's rename it. Instead of calling it site.css, let's call it site original. Original.css. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Okay? So I changed the name of that from site to site original. As you see, there's not much in it. That's the whole file right there. And it's some stuff that is set up, for lack of better words, most of it is set up so the stuff that we're putting in with Bootstrap doesn't look squished on the screen. All right? That reminds me of something else. Again, if you think I'm picking on you, I'm really and truly not trying to. But a couple of you, especially on the Rankin one, you did a really nice job, but you put in a bunch of photos that looked really squished. Don't do that. Again, that's how you're going to be remembered. Either work with a package like GIMP, which is free, where you can change the size, or manually just try to change the size with it, because that's what you're going to be remembered for. I don't want that. I don't think that's what you want either. All right. So we've got that original one. What I have to do very quickly is this. If you look up and watch me do it, not that it's exciting or anything like that, because it's not. I have to come in and I've got a thing called, I had one, okay, and I don't see it there. No, that's not. Oh, it's on the desktop. I've got a thing here that's called MVC Music Store Master, I believe it is. There. I think this is the one, but we're going to find out. And what I have to do is, under this completed one, Music Store, content. I've got to grab that file for you. So if you look at the file, you can see that it's different. See that? All right, it's got more stuff in it, for lack of better words. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab that. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. I'm going to create a new folder. Just put today's date on it. 11. No, it doesn't want that. 11-27-2017. Two dashes. Not that that's a big thing, but there. Now, right mouse click and paste that file in. The other thing I want to do is I want you to have all these images. So I'm going to just grab that images folder and I'm going to drag that over there and do a copy. So in just a minute, I'm going to email this to you. Let me zip it first. So it's got today's date on it, and it will have the site.css and the images. What I'm going to ask is let's bring those over together, because I want to show you the way they recommend you bring these over. Everybody hear that? All right. So I've got it here. It's zipped, so let me send it to you. Just going to grab this because I already have that, so. $254K, that shouldn't take any time. All right, you all have it. So once you get it, please take it and extract it to your desktop or wherever you've got this stuff right now. Anyone have any problem with that? All right, I'll give you a second. But I do want you to understand something. If you all look up on the screen here, this is kind of important. All right? Technically, could I come in here now, go to this folder, grab the images and drag it over there? Yes. Microsoft recommends you don't ever do that, because it says sometimes there's internal files that don't get rewritten when you do that. You have no guarantee that they're ever going to be rewritten. So what we're going to do is in the content folder here, I'm going to click on the content folder, so it's blue. I'm going to right mouse click on it and choose add existing item. So right mouse click on your content folder, choose add existing item, and then I'm going to go find that. So mine is over in on my desktop, in the folder with today's date on it, and there's the file. So I'm going to click there and click add. Now it put it in. All right? And if I did that too fast, or if you tried doing it and it didn't work, just let me know. Again, click on the content folder so it turns blue, then right mouse click on the content folder, choose add existing item, then find it and bring it in. Now, if you don't do this, in just a minute we're going to bring over the images. When you run this, you won't have the album image. You won't have it. So it's not going to look the same as everybody else's after that. All right, so that's the first thing. So notice now that was my site. That's the one that is now site original. This is the one I just added. And you'll notice one of the things that we add is this. The reason I wanted to show you this is notice the path. This expects in your content folder, you have a folder called images. All right, so again, the recommendation from Microsoft is that in our content folder, we click on this, so it again turns blue. We right mouse click on it. We choose add new folder. Not add ASP.NET folder, add new folder. So right mouse click where it says content, add new folder. Once you do that, you'll get a new folder called new folder 1. We're going to change the name of that to images, because that's what it expects it to be. The caseness does not matter. But now we're under content images. All right? So that's good. Everybody get that? Then we want to right mouse click on the images folder and choose add existing item. Right mouse click on the images folder, add existing item. All right, now I'm going to open up my images folder. I don't remember if it lets me highlight them all. It does. Good. And then click add. Then when you get done, you should have those 3 files in there. So if you've done all that, and if it worked, again, do a save all, do a build solution. When your arrow comes back, click on it to run the program. Now mine should have that album image at the front of it. And you say it's not there. Yes, it is, but for some reason this is too big. Can you see it underneath there? All right. So I'm going to have to do some monkeying around. I don't even care. All right. I can tell that it's there. In fact, I wonder if I... Nope. It's not going to even help if I shrink that down. So there's still a problem with the padding there. I mean, can I fix that? Yeah, I can go into that site.css file now, right? And I can add some, right underneath that, right underneath this, we can add some padding, bottom padding bottom, I guess, if we want to do that.
Bootstrap wasn't generated in
it what?
MVC3. Bootstrap wasn't in MVC3, so you wouldn't even had that.
Okay. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
All right,
So
let's wait. Let's close this.
Well, it's still like
I'll tell you what, we'll fix it right now. That's good. Thank you. Because I forgot. All right, so let's do this. Has everybody got all that done? All right, if you had a problem, raise your hand during the break and I will work with you. All right, that's fine. But what I want to do then, and Ethan is right, is we want to stop the run here. All right, and then, remember this? When we right mouse clicked on here on the name of our project and we went to Manage NuGet Packages. All right. I'm going to click here on Bootstrap and notice, yeah, it's installed. It's not being recognized, but it's installed. All right. But there is one that's in here, and this will help us tomorrow. Not right now. But if we come in here, in fact, if we go into installed, well, what do we have in here? We've got Bootstrap, we got jQuery, MVC, Razor, Web Pages. You may or may not remember, but one thing we don't have in there right now is the entity framework. We have to manually add that. So go over to where it says Browse and type in here entity framework. And that should show right there. That must be installed or what we do tomorrow won't work.
I mean, it looks like that because we have Bootstrap.
Because what?
I wasn't saying we don't have Bootstrap. I'm saying it looks like that because we have Bootstrap.
Because we have Bootstrap.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I think that it's funny because mine didn't look like...
There's no Bootstrap in that lesson.
I think it was fine before we actually changed the name of the old site.css because that has body padding up top and bottom.
Yeah, but I thought that the new one that they put it in too, and maybe they didn't.
I don't know.
Yeah, you very, that might be it. We can go back always and look at that too. All right. So, but you should make sure you install 6.2.0 is the newest. So with that highlighted, all right, I'm going to click the install button. It's telling me that it's going to install this. Is that okay? And I click OK. I accept the license. This is all stuff that we had happen for us automatically before because we chose the MVC project. We didn't choose empty. Again, one of the reasons I wanted to do it like this was I wanted you to go through these steps. And because Brady just brought it up, and he's probably, I'm sure he's right, but let's see, what do we have in here? I'm going to look at this stuff that's right there. I'm going to grab these from our site original. I'm going to copy those to the clipboard. I'm going to go to our new site file, and I'm going to drop them in right there, which gave us our padding.
Might have to just add that,
Just the top one?
there's body right above where you just.
Yeah, I mean, this could be thrown in here. You're right.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it has padding there, but it's 0 and then 6%, so I don't know what that will do. Just case you're just like,
Yeah, you wouldn't really need this one. The padding 0 and 6%. It's being overridden anyway.
yeah. I don't know if that'll fix it or not, but.
Did. All right. So if you want, and again, we shouldn't need this line right here. You can go to your new site.css file and just change your body to add this stuff to it. And you can add this to it too. As it says, to keep the content from hitting the edges. All right. So on page 10 of this, they say, let's review what we've changed. The home controller's index action method found and displayed our template, even though the code called return view, because our view template followed the standard naming convention. It was smart enough that since it knew it was in the index and they were returning a view called index.cshtml, it knew what to return. The home page is simply displaying a welcome message that is defined within that view template. And the home page is using our underscore layout.cshtml template. And so the welcome message is contained in a standard type of format. All right, I'll leave that up there for a minute. It's a little early. We've been going 45 minutes. So let's take one more break. It's 2:53. Let's come back, please, at 5 after 3. We'll finish up as much of the rest of this lesson in here as we can. Tomorrow's lesson is going to take most of the period because it's working with the database. And I'll double check and make sure I've sent you everything that you need at that time. Again, the whole thing is so doggone big, I can't send it to you at once. That's why I'm sending it to you in chunks. Now I'll leave this here and then I'll go back and bring up the code that we had before. So if you've missed any of that, you should be able to catch up. Tell you what, let me just pause this. It'll be out of your way anyway. So.